everybody. Welcome back to EQ'IN It. Just a show where we're helping you customize relationships for better outcomes. Thank everybody for watching and the comments that you've given. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, let us know how we're doing or anything you want us to talk about because we're not about the mess that a lot of other people with. We're about actually constructive conversations that help us help our marriages grow and our relationships grow, so that way we can get the outcomes that a lot of people think are not possible. Once again, I am Q. This is my wife E.
Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Good evening.
And once again, we're honored to be in front of you all again one more time. All right, tonight we are talking about not according to plan. Yes. So even in relationships where the way your life you figure is going to go, and then things happen and they don't necessarily fall out the way you want them to. And how do you handle when things don't go the way you want them to go? Yes. And so tonight we're going to take a look at Ayesha Curry and her interview on the Call Her Daddy podcast. And, if you've heard a lot of her comments about not wanting kids and not wanting to get married and things, and, it might have made you feel a certain type of way. Made me feel a certain type of way too when I first heard it, until I went back to look at it and try to keep what she was saying in context. So, and when you listen to her in context, it makes sense from the point in life where she was talking about how she was experiencing these things and the things that were going on. So we're going to take a look at that tonight. So,
but before we get into that, to listen to the clip and get a better understanding of where the conversation came from, I think it's important just in relationships, marriage in general, just to kind of have those conversations every now and then. Because again, you're two individuals coming together. So maybe initially you were thinking one thing, and then you meet somebody, and then things start to change or things start to move a little faster than planned. But I think every now and then you should kind of check in with each other, because life happens fast. Things start to take place that maybe you didn't necessarily plan for, but you're grateful that it happened. But however, as an individual, you may start feeling like, I'm losing myself. I've heard that talking to different people. I'm losing myself, or I want to get back to myself. Whatever that looks like, I think it's important in your relationships to just check in to see. Because you may think everything is good or whatever, but then the other person may be just thinking to themselves, trying to keep it in because they don't want to say anything, or they don't want to come off a certain way. But I think it's okay to have those conversations, because if you get into something and it wasn't quite what you thought it was going to be, how are you going to navigate it? How are you going to move forward? Are you going to start to do the blame game thing? Or are you actually going to be like, you know what? This is where I am right now, and I have to kind of pivot and adjust to where I am now. Granted, I may, feel like at times I may have missed out, but I think that's why you have to talk. You have to communicate, because you want to make sure that everybody is on the same page and that you're communicating how you're feeling. Because you don't want to be feeling how you feeling, like, oh man, I wish I may have done this or done this different. And then your partner thinking it's all good and things are moving and you're going along, but then there's something within you that's not fulfilled. So I think at the end of the day, keep the communication lines open, so you can explain where you're coming from, what's going on with you, and just where you are with things if they don't go according to plan. So as we go in to check out Ayesha Curry's interview that she did, that's just something to keep in mind. Keep the lines of communication open, because you don't want to feel like you're in it alone, but you also want to communicate how you're feeling, so you can kind of navigate through those feelings and make the necessary adjustments. So I think that's always good. Wow, to do. But yeah, so here we go.
All right, so I'm gonna play two parts of this video. All right, first part, it's just her talking about when she said she didn't want to be married, and then just to keep it in context about why she said and why she felt the way she felt. And then the second part we'll talk about. We'll jump in for head in the video to where she starts talking about the transition between when she became being married and all this stuff. So
all right, let's hear it.
Okay, 4 kids. Did you always knew you wanted a big family?
No. So I didn't want kids. I didn't want to get married. I thought I was going to be career girl and that's it. And I had my eyes set on my goals, and I was never the little girl that like dreamt about the wedding dress and all of that. And then it happened so early in my life. So it's like it's one of those things like you don't know what you actually don't know what you want.
Well, it's so interesting you say that because I want to talk a lot about that today because I relate to you in that way. Like, I really, really never thought I was going to get married. I'm like, there is actually no way that's ever going to happen. And then it happens and you're like, maybe I didn't know myself that well. And it's like, no, you knew yourself when you were young.
Yes.
And then life happens and then you
Yes.
grow up and then you have different wants and needs, and that's okay to change your mind.
Yes.
But it's still shocking.
it's still shocking.
Okay, wait. Quickly back to parenting. I'm going to ask you a couple random like parenting manual questions. Okay. What is a time one of your kids embarrassed you in public?
My daughter Ryan, we were in a very public place. I'm trying to remember where. I'm blanking because I think this just like overshadowed the whole thing.
Mhm.
But she yelled out like, "Mommy, do you have weaves? Is that a weaves?" Like with an S. "Do you have weaves in your hair?" And I'm like, yes.
And I'm crying. You're like, Ryan, thank you so much. Mommy loves you. Kids will humble you
They
every
will humble
fucking
you
day.
fast.
I think I've got the first part.
So so I just wondered real quick if y'all caught when the she answered the question about not really wanting to it initially, but I like what the interviewer response was to, you don't always know what you need, and your needs and things desires change as you get older. So don't feel bad if when you were younger you were like, nah, I don't see myself doing this or doing that. But then again, like she said, as you get older, life happens, you grow up, you desire different things. So then just be able to make that adjustment. But I like what she said, that wasn't necessarily her intent, or that's not what she wanted initially. But then life happened and you got married and you had kids and you realize, okay, it's not, what I thought, but I'm okay with it. But I like the fact that your thoughts and stuff will change, y'all. As you get older, your desires, your things, as you grow within yourself, as you mature, your desires will change. Granted, you might not have said at 14 that I could see myself married or whatever. Some people do, like she said about the dress and all that. That wasn't her. However, if that is you, and it might change or it comes later in life. That's okay. Just adjust with what's coming and how life moves. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, God forbid you meet somebody that makes you change the way you think about life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I say, when we're all younger, you have a preconceived plan about how you want to do things. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. But experiences change all of our views. That's the part about maturing. So, a lot of people hold you once you say something. They want to hold you to it. Like they don't give you any room to grow, any room to have another revelation about it or anything. But like I said, if that was coming from 14 to 22 is where pretty much where a lot of this interview is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, if you're a young person and you say, hey, I'm never going to do this, well, guess what? There's a saying that says, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. So that may be your thought at the point, but but as you grow and you mature, you realize, hey, that might not be the way I want to go. Or you meet somebody that says, I didn't think it was worth it at first, but now they are. Now I see it's worth it with them. And so, don't be afraid to change your mind about things, because we're all growing, we're all maturing, we're all learning new things day by day. Because like the same person she was at 14, she wasn't the same person at 22, she wasn't the same person at 30, and go on, and neither are we.
True.
So like I say, just because you said something years ago, that doesn't mean you have to hold to it and be etched in stone.
Right.
Because new information changes your outlook on a lot of things. So don't be afraid to.
But even before we go on, just in general, not necessarily talking about right there in that situation, but also the flip side of it is too, while you were talking, I was thinking, having a desire for something that you might not necessarily know what to expect from it, but when it comes, be able to adapt to what it is. feel like at times, like let's take for instance example, you maybe didn't want kids, but then you have them, and then you realize it's not an easy thing, but you learn through it. You know what I mean? Like be okay with, oh wow, I have another human person I'm taking. Yes, but you've been blessed to have that. Not just adjust your thought process or way whatever you're thinking to be able to handle what's to come. Because I tell people all the time, there's no manual to that. There's no manual to parenting. Yeah, people write all these books, but every person is different with how they raise their kids and their life and their lifestyle and all that. So there's no manual, but be okay with adjusting to whatever comes and not feeling like, oh no, I wanted this, but then now I don't want that. But you have it now. So now you got to make the adjustment to be able to handle that situation or to deal with that situation because it's before you. So you can't necessarily neglect what comes. You got to adjust. And I think sometimes that's the hardest thing to do, not necessarily her situation, but in general, is adjusting to when things don't go according to plan. So you just going to stop and not do nothing because it's not what you thought? You can't do that because you got to still keep living. So be able to make the adjustments, even if it's not what you thought it was going to be. Be open to that. Because I feel like sometimes people shut down and they like, because that ain't what I wanted. So I'm just not going to even worry about it. I ain't going to do it. I ain't going to try to adjust. I'm not going to try to make changes to fit where we are now or what I'm dealing with now because that wasn't in my plan. But you can't just stop. You got to keep moving. You got to keep living. And you got to adjust. Be willing, y'all, to make adjustments when life does not go according to plan. Because if you don't make the adjustment, you're either going to get stuck or you're going to miss out on what's there for you. Be willing. I'm telling you, the hardest thing is to make an adjustment when something's not going the way you want it to go. Be open and willing to make the adjustment when things aren't going the way you thought they should go or you thought they would go. Be willing to make an adjustment.
Yeah, cause I know a lot of people who didn't want kids and ended up with kids.
Right. But it's a lot of stuff. Like even the kid thing, that was just one example. But the kids, job situations, things that you thought you would be at a certain place and you're not, what are you going to do? Are you going to just be like, I'm done, I'm not doing this no more, I quit? You can't do that. Because you got to keep going. You got to keep living. That was just one example. But there's any things that happen in life that you didn't plan for or you wish you were in a different place. If you're not quite there, you still got to keep going, but adjust to where you are. Don't beat yourself up because, I'm not there yet. Or don't be so down on yourself because I thought I was going to be such and such place at this age and all that stuff. Timing is everything, and you can't plan it all. We don't control that. We have desires and things that we would like to happen in a certain amount of time, but if it doesn't, what you going to do?
Well, you can, and like I said, I know some people who got them and don't want them, and I also know some people that said bump them kids. So,
but you still on the kids. I'm not on the kids.
I'm talking. It's some situations like that too.
I gave one example, y'all. Y'all see this? And he stayed on the kids. I said, get off.
Kids get tossed in with everything else too.
They do, but my biggest thing that I want y'all to get on tonight is because I've seen it in real time. People not being able to adjust when life doesn't go according to plan. And that stunts them. Hear me and hear me well. Whether it's kids, whether it's your job, where you find your identity, where it's whatever. Be able to adjust if life doesn't go according to plan. That has messed up a lot of people because they weren't able to make that pivot. They felt like, I'm tied up in this, or I got to have this, and since I don't, where do I go? Be willing, be open, be okay if things don't go according to plan. You have to be able to adapt. Life is not a set thing. It's fluid. Things happen all the time that you don't plan for. But my question again is something to think about. How do you move forward? How do you adjust? If you're not willing to, what are you going to do? It's real life, y'all. I'm telling y'all. Be willing to adjust when things don't go according to plan. Whatever that is. Whatever you thought and then it didn't come. What I don't want you to do is quit and give up and don't move forward. Keep moving. It ain't going to last that way forever, but you got to be able to pivot Don't think that's the end of my life because this happened and this is not what I planned for. But it happened, so how you gonna deal? And that's a real conversation. We tapping into not according to plan, okay, but everybody doesn't adjust well. Let's just talk about that. Everybody doesn't know how to pivot. Do you know how to pivot? Are you able to adjust when things don't go according to plan? Quinn, I'm asking you.
Yeah.
But everybody does it. So I'm just saying be willing to do that. And don't get stuck and be like, oh, this is it. This is over. I'm not going to be able to do this. But you got to still live. You got to still keep moving, y'all. Be able to adjust. You can go ahead.
All right. So here's the second part.
Everybody's so creative. The culture is like rich.
Pausing on you guys as a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about you as an individual though,
Mm-hmm.
because you had this dream.
Mm-hmm.
And did you feel like in moving with him, did you feel like you had to pick between your career and your relationship at that point?
Yes. To an extent. That was never presented in front of me that way. It just kind of had to be that way. And because after we got married, we found out we were pregnant with our daughters so quickly, I didn't even have time to think about what I wanted anymore. It's so interesting. I spent my entire life like trying to work towards something, and then it kind of just disappeared, and I didn't think twice about it. But after my daughter turned 1, I remember there being a shift and being like, I have goals for myself. Like, this doesn't feel right. I love being a mom, but I love doing other things too. And I need to get my shit together and figure out what that looks like for myself now.
Okay, rewind 2 steps.
Yeah.
Married at 22.
Yeah.
How did you know you were ready for that?
I didn't. I just knew that I loved him, and I'd never like experienced anything else. I'd never felt any differently than like, this is who I want to spend the rest of my life with. And so we kind of just dove in. And
did anyone or you or Steph or anyone have any hesitations about like, oh, we're getting married in our early 20s, or no?
No. And I say this all the time to our family. I'm like, you guys, like 22. I'm like, you guys. I'm like, not a single parent. Nobody was like, hey guys, are you sure? Everybody was like, no, this is what's happening, and we love you, and it's gonna be great. It's just like, wow.
Totally.
Like when I really look at it.
Well, and again, because there are so many people that may watch this that are like, oh, 22 for them, whether it's because like they watched their parents get married young or whatever, it was normal. But you, in the beginning of this interview, started by being like, girl, I didn't even think I wanted to get married.
Yes, exactly.
So it is a big deal that at 22,
It's a mixture of that and a mixture of like, there are levels to 22. Like there's different styles of 22-year-olds. But I was like the naive, like very young, unpolished 22-year-old. Like I didn't have very much life experience. And so it's just interesting.
It is, but it's, again, I think like why I was excited to talk to you is because as women, there's just like so many things that happen in our life that we want to plan for.
Yeah.
And then obviously life just doesn't go as planned. Yeah. And to hear you at a young age getting married, I think like, and knowing it was such a success, but it doesn't mean the whole ride was easy. Like that's what I'm excited to get into.
Yeah.
So like a few months after getting married, you just said
you get 3 months.
Okay. What was going through your head when you found out that news?
I was confused because
How are you confused?
Because
Alex.
My OB said expected to take up to a year. And so I'm like, oh, if in my head I heard at least a year. I was thinking we were going to be like bar hopping. Like, it's like, nope, you're pregnant and you're going to be very, very sick. But I'm so grateful. I wouldn't change a thing.
Of course.
But it was not on my bingo card.
And when all this went down, like, I guess now looking back, what advice would you give to someone listening of like how to embrace when your timeline suddenly changes?
Oh, there's no such thing as a timeline, I think, is the bottom line. Things are going to shift. Like, life is ebbs and flows, and you just kind of have to roll with the punches. Sometimes stuff's going to suck, like, but you can always recover. And I think it's important also, like, sometimes you can feel like you're in your own bubble, or like feel isolated, or like you're the only person experiencing that thing, but there's always like a resource, or there's always a community of people who are experiencing similar things.
Did you have like any friends who were in similar life stages to you at that point?
No.
They're like, babe, we're at One Oak.
No.
What are you doing?
No, actually, all of our friends are like just now having babies, like the past 4 or 5 years. So we were the trailblazers.
What was the hardest part of being a young mom?
I think my identity.
No, you,
So,
you go ahead. I'm just trying to see where.
because I have such an entrepreneurial spirit, not being able to call the shots all the time for myself was freaking weird. And then learning how to kind of reset myself to make it all work while still having a family was weird too. But it's made me really resilient and like a little gritty. So I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, like even thinking about how you said earlier, like once my daughter turned about 1, I was kind of looking around like, I love being a mom.
Well, go ahead. I mean, based on like where were you? I mean, go ahead and talk because she covered a lot. So I didn't know how far you wanted to go. I know the beginning she talked about not being sure. Now she's talking about kind of that transition, what you were saying earlier. So go ahead and elaborate based on where she is, what she's talking about now. Or are you going to keep?
Well, like she's talking about that, a lot of stuff you talked about, but then she starts talking about the identity part in the last.
Oh, that's where you're.
So that's what I'm trying to get to now.
Go ahead. Sorry, y'all. I'm just trying.
Yeah.
But I also have this other side of me that I can feel kind of wanting to come back up. And I think a lot of times women can experience like, or so I've read, because I'm obviously not a mother yet, hopefully. But like women can experience this like mom guilt of like, if I have a career and I'm not home at like, did you experience that?
I still experience that. I still experience that. I'm always in therapy talking about this. But what I realized is like, if you lose, like for me being married and like with my husband, if you lose all of those things that were interesting about you, even for yourself, like even the things that made me feel confident and cool, then what are you doing? And so for me, it's always been important. I mean, I'm a little ADHD. So like I have 1,000,005 ideas. I have 1,000,000 interests. I'm very creative. I like to explore those sides of me. And I think it keeps me who I am to like my family and the people that I love. But it also allows me to have a certain level of confidence that I don't think I would have otherwise.
Right. It's like you grew up, like we've talked about, like having this thing that you were so passionate about. Yeah. And to lose that creative side of yourself would just mean that you're almost like doing a disservice to yourself and then therefore to your kids and to your husband and to your relationships. Like that's who you are. Yeah. And you don't have to be, as women, we're always told like, or at least it feels like people just try to have us be one dimensional and you can do more. Not that it's easy.
No.
But it's an option.
It's an option. Like I say all the time, I'm like, when men do it, they're like, oh my God, you're so multifaceted. Wow.
You're so like, talented.
What a renaissance man. And I'm like, what? Why can't women do the same thing? Like, what is giving you the ick so bad that you feel like I can't do these separate things, be good at them, or at least try to? Like what is the problem?
It is really frustrating. And then I think thankfully I feel like there's just been an uptick of people being like, you know what? I don't care anymore. I'm just going to do it. Even if it pisses all of you off so much and it makes you uncomfortable to see a woman succeeding, deal with that on your own.
All right. So yeah, that's what I wanted to get through. What you're talking about that and then talking about trying to keep the identity part of it. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I thought you was going to take it away.
Oh, I can take it. Well,
Go ahead, you take it.
like I said, a lot of people. Well, you talked about a lot of this earlier, but like I said, a lot of people struggle to try to keep their identity, but realizing the more experiences you get, especially with family things, you find out more about yourself than you would if you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about losing a piece of yourself because you're taking on more responsibility. You are who you are. You're just learning how you are with different around now different expectations. So you learn how you are, just like men do. You learn how you are as a father. You learn how you are as a husband. You learn how you are in your career. You learn how you are in your church and your community. And with women, it's the same thing. But like I said, you don't lose a part of yourself. You just find out more about yourself. And you have to look at it that way, to where there are some sacrifices in a relationship. Like for her, and we skipped over that, but like I said, they met at 14. They didn't start dating till they were 19. And so, like I said, she wanted to be the career woman. She was already out
Mm-hmm.
in Cali doing that.
Mm-hmm.
He was still in school. So he just said he just wanted to be a high school basketball coach. And then that junior year came and everything blew up and he became a draft, NBA draft,
Mm-hmm.
a lottery prospect. And so at that point, when he got drafted, everything shifted.
Mm-hmm.
So, for a lot of people who comment thinking like, oh, she was just there for that check or something. No, she was there before then.
Mm-hmm.
So she had already loved talking about how she told him she loved him first and they were already doing their thing. It's just life comes at you fast. And so that would be a tough transition because now you're in the public spotlight talking about how people just think they can just come up and just do and say anything and around you just because you in that position. So it is tough to deal with. So even for a lot of us who don't have that transition is still hard because now you're getting adjusted to life, a different life that you weren't used to and one that you didn't expect. But like I said, you just find out more about yourself. You're still the individual. You're still who you are. You just have to mature in who you are and find out that you're, like she's talking about being multifaceted. It's not just in career wise. That's why you get all this other stuff to find out that you can juggle all these different hats. So
No, that's good. I think the end of it when she was talking about, he was talking about the multifaceted, but being able to do different things. I do think it's possible. Granted, they said it's not easy because you're going to be pulled in different directions. However, you give your time to those things that are important. So if you want to pursue a career, you can. You want to have a family, you can. You can do all those things, but you just have to understand what it's going to take. Some things are going to fall short, not everything, but it is possible to still do your purpose, fulfill your purpose, still have a family, still be married, still be in community, do the things you desire, but it requires a level of commitment and understanding that everything is not going to be perfect. And I think some people be like, well, I can do all this and it's all going to be perfect, never going to fall short. You're going to fall short in some areas, but you can have the career, the life, all of that you want is possible. But you're going to have to make the adjustments and understand it's not always going to be perfect. Like I'm not going to always be the best, say the best mom or the best sister or the best whatever or the best, but you can get the things done, and when it's time to show up, you show up the best way you can. But give yourself grace if you're trying to tackle all that because it's gonna be a lot. There's gonna be some days you're like, man, but then you're gonna keep pushing because you understand your reason why that you do the things that you do. So no, it's not easy, and she did say that, and she doesn't take anything for granted. She loves where she's at, but of course, it's times when she was like thinking back, like, man, I had thought I was gonna do X, Y, and Z, but I'm doing this. However, and she said it, I'm learning how to find me in the midst of everything else that I have going on. And that is important. You don't want to lose your identity, so to speak, or you don't want to feel like you can't be you because now you're taking on all these other roles, because that's just, like she said, doing a disservice to yourself and everybody else. So you have to find someone. I don't want to say balance because it's hard to find a balance, but I think you just have to remember to make time for the things that you enjoy as an individual as you fit everything else into what you already have going on. So don't necessarily lose yourself, but find out what brings you, like she said, her creative side and all that stuff. Find out what brings you joy, brings you pleasure, things you like to do. Because it's not, you're still gonna be a wife, you're still gonna be a mom, you're still gonna be a mom, you're still gonna be a sister, you're still gonna be a friend. You can also still be that CEO or that career woman or man that you want to be, but you just gotta make sure you're taking care of the other elements as well, and just keep it moving. It's not gonna be a perfect situation, but it can be done.
The other thing I would say is this is why one of the things we talked about, especially in premarital, about where you see yourself in 5 years.
Mm.
So if you are got careers and things going, how do you get and sit down and what does that look like? Because especially if you're coming out of school and y'all both dating, y'all both might get engaged, but what happens when one person has a job in one city and one got in another? Now discussions got to be had. Or, who do we go with? Where do we go? Do we do this long distance or what? All right. So do you have your goals? All right, I'm going to give you 5 years. If you don't want kids, okay, you get 5 years to pursue this. And then say we're 25. By the time you're 30, if you haven't done this by 30, then we'll start talking about kids or we'll get ourselves established. Those are conversations that have to be had. Now, I understand you have to prepare for those now. Like if you don't want kids, y'all going to have to do the protection that y'all need to have. Whether it's, birth control or IUDs or whatever, but you're going to have to put them things in place to where we discussed that. So when the time comes, I don't want anybody acting funny to where, hey, we discussed this at, it's been 5 years. We're supposed to have kids. And now all of a sudden you don't want to do this because your career's going good. Now you got to deal with that. Like, hey, wait a minute. We already talked about this, but it's good to have those constant conversations to let everybody know where we are, what we're feeling. Also let them know what do you want, because don't get somebody in a situation to where they're expecting something from you and you have no desire to give it to them. So
be honest, y'all. Be upfront. If that ain't something you want, say it, and hopefully the person will actually listen and hear you. But if that's not something you desire, say those things. Don't wait thinking, oh, they'll forget about it or no. Because if that's something they want, they're not going to forget and it's going to come back up. But also, like you said, the conversation piece, before, if we talked about it 25, we said 5 years. But if your career, before the 5th year hit, is starting to take off, y'all need to revisit that conversation.
Yeah.
Don't wait. Oh, no. Revisit it. Because it may change. And that's what you're talking about. Life and stuff changes. Things happen. So if it's going good and you're like, maybe we should wait another whatever. Have a conversation. I feel like sometimes we don't have those conversations because either we feeling like it's not going to go the way we might want it, but I think you do a disservice if you don't talk about it. Because now if we wait and then we get to that 5th year and you like, well, we talk, what's up? Why we not? And you're like, well, well, we could have talked about that 2 months ago when the career was booming and the money and then we switching and we got it though. And you thinking like, maybe you know what? I don't know if I want to do that. Talk about it. Y'all got it. We got to communicate. So we know where we're at, what's going on. We can't just assume because we had a conversation 5 years ago that you still good with it. Anything could have happened between that time, and if we're not talking, we thinking it's okay. Then oops, here we are. And like, dang, that ain't really what I wanted. But then you didn't say nothing because we talked about it already. So like you said, keep those minds open. Touch base before maybe your deadline or whatever y'all set, because things are gonna change. Life is gonna happen. Talk.
And also, that's like with those two, a lot of people, my comment I'm hearing from stuff like she's embarrassing him and stuff like that. They've already had those conversations. Yeah. That's why she's able to talk so freely about it. She's not discussing anything those two haven't discussed already. Right. So it's not an embarrassment to him. He knows how his wife. He knows his wife better than anybody. Yeah. So people don't look at everything that she's doing as disrespectful and embarrassing. It might be embarrassing to you because y'all might not have had those conversations with the person you with. Right. That's why he ain't freaking out about it.
Yeah, because he's aware of what she's been dealing with, so it's not a surprise.
Like you say, so that's why you got to have those. You have to have those constant conversations with people to kind of those check-ins to say, all right, how are we feeling? How do you feel about this? Sometimes it may not. Like I said, I gave the example for 5 years. It might cut down before that. Maybe you get into a career, but like, this ain't even what I want to do. Right. So there's a lot of people that got in there and said they felt better when they had kids. Said I prefer to be at home raising my kids than be here dealing with this mess. So it depends on the person. But life, like I said, it's about a conversation. Are you willing to let somebody know what you're dealing with other than just assuming and then just playing it by ear? So that's how you can avoid a lot of those small fires, because we've already talked about a lot of that stuff before. So we can revisit to say, hey, we came back. We talked about this earlier. So, okay, what's the plan now? How are we looking now? Where are we at? So we're not catching anybody off guard and we're keeping everybody in the loop. And like I said, we're all changing. So new information, new experiences. This is what I wanted, but then we come in here. Hey, I want something different now. This ain't it. So we plan accordingly. So, but like I said, this is a part about maturing in your relationships. It's not just getting in your feelings. This is about having conversations, understanding how the other person feels. So that way you don't listen to the outside noise about people telling you that you should divorce her and you should leave her and stuff. Y'all need to be quiet because y'all don't know what y'all talking about.
But I mean, everybody has an opinion. So, but if y'all are solid in y'all's relationship and communication, that's not going to phase you because y'all have already talked, like you said, y'all have already talked about these things. Y'all have already discussed it. She just chose to go on and share in the interview. But again, somebody's always going to have an opinion. But if y'all are solid and y'all keep y'all lines of communication, can't nobody come in and be like, oh, you should da 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 da, because they really don't know the facts. They don't know the ins and outs. So you got to communicate. You got to communicate what you feeling, what's going on with you. You gotta communicate. Even when you don't want to. And you like, I just gonna keep it to myself. Nope, don't do that. Take a deep breath, come back and talk so the other person knows what's going on with you. Because they can see something is either on your mind or something's going on, but you're just choosing not to share, which is not beneficial because now they're like, okay, well, what's going on? Da 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 da. They see something, but you're not communicating. At least communicate so they can get an understanding of what's going on. Why are you feeling this way? Why you maybe giving them the cold shoulder? Why you don't want to talk? We're always up here thinking. We're always in our mind thinking about something. But sometimes you need to get that out so you can process it so you don't feel like, oh, I'm dealing with this by myself. And like she said, it's normally you think that way, but there's always somebody else that's either dealt with it or dealing with it, so you're not alone in your thoughts, but you gotta communicate it so you don't feel like you're alone and like you're by yourself. But if you don't say nothing, then of course you're gonna be in your head all the day.
Yeah. But like I said, listen to a bunch of y'all. We all be in the streets. Because wouldn't nobody be married if I took the advice of everybody who got in their feelings without getting to hear. So that's why I wanted to bring this in context because there are people who go through this.
Yeah.
And you can't listen to outside noise about, man, I wouldn't take that. That's why you ain't got nobody now.
Right.
That's why none of your relationships work because you ready to bail at the first sign of something. Like it takes two people to truly understand who they are, what they're going through, and y'all talk about each other. Because once y'all discuss it here, and y'all get on one accord together, I ain't worried about what nobody else say. They gonna talk because they don't know. They just going off their emotions.
Yeah.
We're going off what we actually talked about, how we feel, and the facts, and what we deal from our day to day, and understand about relationships. Your day to day is different from everybody else's day to day. So that's what we just have to understand what that is. So don't get caught up. Don't compare yourself to nobody else. Don't get caught up listening to the chatters of everybody else who not involved in it, who just want something to say. Because whether y'all together or not, they're gonna talk anyway. So y'all might as well figure it out yourselves. But that's all I got. You know?
Yeah. No, I think overall, I hope the topic was helpful to anyone that comes past the replay. But I do think the biggest thing of all of it is just being able to, number one, communicate, but also make the adjustments when things don't go the way you thought they would. And that's anything in life, whatever that is, whatever plan you had maybe written down years ago and it's not going according to plan, keep going. Make the adjustments. Understand that you still have time to get to the goals and the things that you desire. It just may take a different approach. It's going a different road. We were going this way, maybe, and now we had to go off to the right, but we can get back on, keep going. But you just have to make the adjustments and be okay with it. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't go exactly how you thought. You know, people be talking about timelines and I gotta be doing this by this amount of age and I gotta have this by this age. Unfortunately, y'all, life don't work like that. Life don't work that way. Stuff happened, stuff delayed because maybe you weren't ready or you couldn't go because maybe somebody got sick. But you still can accomplish it as long as you have breath in your body. Those goals that you said and that you desire, if you want to have, you still have time to do them. It just didn't happen in the time that you thought it would. So if you keep that perspective that you still have time, you can adjust. You can adjust and keep it moving because you're still here. So as long as you're still here, you're still living and breathing, you can make those things happen. You can go for the goals. You can go for the career. You can go for have the family. All that stuff is still possible because you're still here. So as long as you understand that, don't beat yourself up if it didn't happen at 25 or if it didn't happen at 30, you still got time, y'all. You still got time. So y'all stay encouraged, stay hopeful. Hope this was a good topic of conversation. We had a good example of making adjustments and being able to go with it, even though, and like she said too, she's still working through it. She still go to therapy, talk about it, and talk her way through. But she's good. She's okay with where she's at, but she's processing it. She's still moving forward. She's not stuck and like, dang, da, da, da. No, she's moving. She's still living. She's still going. She's still doing what she need to do, and she's getting back to her. So don't think you can't get back there. If you feel like, oh, I lost myself, or I can't this, I can't that. No, you can, because you're still here and you still have time to do it. So y'all be encouraged and continue to make the adjustments, and we gonna get on out y'all way. Um, yeah. So y'all go ahead. Anything else, sir?
That's it. But like I said, I mean, there's some other things dealing with her. I'm just dealing with this. We're just dealing with that part. We ain't going to the other part. Y'all have at it with that. But like I said,
According to plan,
things don't go according to plan. So don't be afraid to stick and move. Don't be afraid to adjust, to call the audible. And like I said, different things happen.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, you got time in life, but understand life is really choices and trade-offs. So you got choice, things you want to do, and some things you trade off for something better. It may not seem like better at the time, but it is. And so you got time to change, careers and stuff are always going to be jobs and stuff. Well, looking at things now, but chasing your dreams and stuff, you got that time. But like meeting certain people, they don't always come around. So you just have to balance it, and you can do both. Y'all just have to have a conversation and attack it together. And so to see what you two want to do. But whatever you have to do for your family, adjust it. It's all going to, everybody, as long as everybody's taken care of, everybody's good, it's fine. But, like I said, it takes a mature couple to come to that realization. And so hopefully that will encourage a lot of people to have those deeper conversations to where we're actually talking about the well-being of us and what we want to do and the future of our marriage and our family, and making sure that we don't feel like we gave up everything and didn't get anything in return. Or that you don't have the support to do it. So we'll support it. If it don't work out, we here. We make it. Do what we do. So, all right. That was good. Thank everybody for watching. Thank for the likes. The 2 hearts that we have. Replay, share this with anybody you think will get anything out of it. And so.
And to y'all, before we go, feel free to leave us some topics in the comment section. So if you come through and you on there, give us some topics that y'all may want us to discuss. We appreciate it, and thank y'all so much for watching and chiming in. So leave us some topics, some things we can discuss, or we want to talk about, or you even have questions. Let us know, all right?
All right. Everybody have a great week.
Yes. Have a blessed week, y'all.
It's this game. All right. Everybody have a great week. Take care. God bless.
Right.
Oh, I'm watching.
He's watching the game. Yeah. Y'all have a good night. Take care. Thank y'all again.